Okay, today I'm going to give you 5 things to look at when you are comparing homes. This is another example of why this versus that. So, this is a great example here in Carlton, Oregon. And there's literally a house a couple blocks away, both new construction, this one and that one, same exact square footage. And yet, this one right here is about $100,000 more than the other one. So, I'm going to go through the house here. I'm going to go over 5 things to look at when you're comparing homes so you know what to look at. And again, maybe have a better understanding of why one home may be more expensive than the other. So when you're shopping, you can know what to look for and you can be comparing apples to apples, right? Or at least knowing what you're paying for. So first of all, I would just want to say I never mention specific builders or anything like that when I'm doing these because the goal here is not to promote a builder or to bash a builder or anything like that. It's really just for education so that you know what the differences are. And again, if you're seeing those houses and those things that don't seem to make sense when you're looking at price per square footage, that you're digging deeper, looking closer, and then asking some of these questions. And again, not necessarily just writing something off just because of the price, making sure you're going out and taking a look and comparing those home options. So here we go. First thing to look at is location. And I'm going to lump location, I'm going to lump in lot size and lot configuration a little bit too, because location does make a difference. And now this one that we're looking at a little bit more, you could argue maybe that the location isn't as good as the other one that's less, but you do want to look at location. So even though something may be within just a couple blocks of another home, there could be a difference. There could be, is it an unimproved or improved street? Is it block by block? Is one part of town a little bit nicer than the other one? Is it a special neighborhood or development? Are the schools different? And are the schools better in one area than another? So lots to consider, even if something's really, nearby. It may not make sense at first glance, but when you dig deeper, you can start to figure out some of those nuances that may make the location better. Again, lot size, lot configuration. So even if something's just a little bit bigger, or if it's maybe a corner lot, or if there's room to squeeze in RV parking, it may at first glance again look really similar, but when you dig a little bit deeper, you figure out it's got maybe room for RV parking, a little bit better exposure, maybe it's got a little bit extra backyard versus a side yard. So there's a lot of things to consider there as well. Okay, second thing to look at is exterior improvements. Things like overhangs, things like the type of siding, what was used for the trim, things like the amount of concrete that is used, covered porches, decks, patios, all of those things are important to look at. Different builders use different products, and some are going to use a little bit higher quality product. Some are going to use a little bit maybe lower quality product. Some builders are going to maybe add some things, landscaping, those covered decks and porches, and some are going to do a little bit less of that because all that stuff adds up, right? And so that's some of the value you may or may not be getting and that you want to be comparing. Okay, third thing to look at is interior finishes. And this is, I'm going to point out a few specific areas to look at, but this is a general thing that you're just looking at the finish levels. And a lot of times things can appear very similar, but when you start looking at the actual components of it, one is definitely better than the other. So cabinets, are they stock cabinets from a bulk cabinet shop, or are they custom cabinets? Do they have soft close hinges? What kind of material are they made out of? Are they made out of like pressed board, or are they solid wood? Countertops, are they your basic, everybody uses quartz these days, or most builders do. Are they your basic quartz, or are they a step above that? What kind of tile? Tile is not all made equal. There's designer tile, there's entry level tile. Your fireplace, believe it or not, I mean, your smaller fireplaces are quite a bit less expensive. They do a bigger fireplace, a better unit. Your flooring, a lot of builders are using luxury vinyl plank flooring these days. Nothing wrong with it, very durable material, but there are other products that are maybe a little bit more expensive and something to consider and look at. Things like open railings, really high vaulted ceilings, loft areas, a lot of that stuff adds to the cost and the value of the home. Other things to look at, now this, you could consider this exterior, which we just went over, but windows, what kind of windows? Again, not all windows are made equal. So are they higher quality windows, or are they your cheap, lower entry level double pane windows? So it's definitely something to look at. The lighting fixtures, all of those things, again, all these things add up and make a huge difference in the quality and the value of the property and why you might be paying a little bit more. I'm going to mention specifically a couple rooms here. So in your primary suite, your bathroom, most builders are going to put a lot of money or more money into your primary bath because let's face it, it's the kitchen and the primary bath. That's what sells the home most of the time. So you're going to see that. You're going to see these upgraded primary suites, tile floors, soaking tubs, glass doors, tile surrounds, quartz countertops continuing into here. You'll see them a lot of times in the kitchen, but you'll also see them in your primary suite, big closets, things like that. But where you don't necessarily see those things continue is in the additional bathroom. So that's another thing to be looking at is, where was additional money spent? So when you're comparing these homes that appear to be very similar, be looking at some of these other rooms, be looking at specifically your additional bathrooms. You're going to see extra money spent potentially in those rooms. So the less expensive home, you're going to see probably your tub shower inserts. You're going to see maybe some vinyl flooring, maybe a cheaper tile or something, or linoleum, or your luxury vinyl continuing in there. You're going to start to see tile countertops. So your finish level changes a lot of times in your additional bathrooms. And it's a cost saving thing. They're still giving you that extra component, that extra bathroom, but they're dialing down those finishes to save on cost, right? So you look at a house like this, that's a little bit more expensive than those other ones, than the one down the street, right? And you can see that in both of these other bathrooms, they are higher level finishes. You have your tile floors still, you have your quartz countertops, you have your nice cabinets, you have extra storage in here, you have your tile surround, you have your glass doors. So lots of things that continue in these other bathrooms. And bathrooms are expensive. A lot of these finishes, it adds up pretty darn quick. And so that's where a lot of builders save money. And again, where you're going to find a lower price point and you're not going to have that value. Okay, number 4 is in upgrades. Now, this is kind of like finishes, but I want to point to a couple things specifically. So, front doors. This front door on this house is not your entry level home front door. It's a much more expensive door than what you're going to see on the house I mentioned before. That's quite a bit less money. You also have things like your primary suite here has heated tile floors in the bathroom. You're not going to see that in a lot of the other homes. Your tray ceilings or your ceilings that have these extra design components to them. I mentioned earlier the vaulted ceilings, the very high ceilings. That's another thing to consider. Your open stairway, these wood treads, your stairway lighting, your smooth wall finish. A lot of builders, and I'll tell you what, I get it, but the orange peel texture that you see in most new construction, a big part of that is because it does a really good job of hiding imperfections in the sheetrock. And so they can build faster. They don't have to fur out the walls. They don't have to make sure that sheetrock is, as straight. This particular home has your smooth finish, which I love in particular. I just really like the look. I think it's classy and really looks really nice, but it's a lot more work. So you have that extra labor cost to make sure that it comes out perfect and looking nice. So again, just a few things to be looking at that are, they go along the lines of finishes, but more kind of an upgrade aspect where you're doing something a little bit different than you would do or would be considered like an add-on for another builder. Number 5 is something to really look at closely. And a lot of times you can't see these things, but energy efficiency is a big thing. Not only does it help you live more comfortably, but it also can really save in the long run with your energy costs and your energy bills being lower. So it's definitely something to consider and look at. So this particular home has a fully conditioned attic, it has a fully encapsulated crawl space, it has a ductless heat pump system, it has a structurally insulated panel. The roof also has an exterior insulation. So in addition to the insulation that you have on the walls, which you normally have in a house, you also have exterior insulation that adds to that. You also have a really tight build on this home, so you don't have a lot of air escaping, heat loss, things like that. It had a really, really good blower door test, just slightly above what the measurements are for a passive home. So your energy costs are going to be much, much lower in this home versus the other home potentially. So again, that's something to consider for sure, and you really can't see it. So make sure you're asking a builder if they've done any energy upgrades because hopefully they're advertising those things and informing you and educating you on those. But always ask, because that's a big component to look at, and definitely something that you want to consider. And another thing that is going to potentially add to the cost and the value, but actually could save you money over time as well. So hopefully that was helpful to you. Again, just want to make sure that you're looking at things and considering all the different variables that may be there in home cost. And again, not just left wondering, why is this other house more expensive? It's the same size. Why would it be so much more? Now you can actually take a look at some of those things, make sure you're comparing them. Go take a look at both of them, go through all 5 of these things: location, exterior, interior, upgrades, and energy efficiency, and comparing all those things so that you're making an educated decision and you know what you're paying for or not getting when you make your home purchase. If I can be of any help with your home purchase, if you're considering your options and are trying to weigh some of these things out, make sure you reach out, give me a call, fill out the form below. Either way, and we'll get in touch and would love to help you with your home search.